I have a wee bit of a problem with my front deck. During my renovations, I removed the balustrading from this end and it's come time to replace it. Now behind me is a bedroom. That direction is a pretty average view and it's also due west, so that means at the height of summer we get some really intense sun comes through this way. What I need is a screening solution that's going to give me some privacy but also block out that intense sunlight. So I've decided I'm going to go old school and I'm going to build a timber screen from scratch, and it is really quite simple.
You only need three sorts of timber for this project. 66mm by 42mm for the frame, 18mm by 18mm for the slat support trim and blocks, 92mm by 18mm for the slats. It all needs to be dressed all round, DAR to its friends, and a minimum of H3 treated. Mine was LOSP treated pine and was also pre-primed to make painting easier. Other materials you'll need are 8 or 10 exterior grade screws around 30mm long, 100mm construction screws, a tube of quick grab exterior grade construction adhesive, and galvanised nails. I used 38mm for my nail gun. You'll need at least one powerful driver drill, power saw, I also used a drop saw, a fix out nail gun but you can use hammer and nails, a tape measure, rafter square and combination square, a sharp chisel, and of course you'll need painting gear. For the drill work, you'll want a drill bit of a suitable size for a clearance hole, another the right size for a pilot hole for both the small and large screws, a countersinking bit, and bits to suit the screws. Start by measuring top and bottom. Measure and cut two pieces of 66mm by 42mm to suit. Lay the cut lengths 66mm side down on sawhorses, align their ends and clamp in place. Find and mark the centre and then mark the width for a rebate to house the centre 66mm by 42mm frame upright. I used an offcut to keep this accurate, then check straightness with the combination square. Set saw depth to approximately 15mm. Using the rafter square as a saw guide, accurately saw edges and then make a series of cuts a few millimetres apart through the centre. Gently use the chisel to break out the cut sections and then use it to tidy the rebate. From the end of one slat, cut three 66mm long sections. Flip one piece of the frame over, this is to become the bottom, position one of the cut blocks over the centre and flush with the edges, pre-drill and secure with 30mm screws. Repeat for both ends. These are spacing blocks to make sure there's good air circulation underneath your frame. Measure and cut the pieces for the sides and the centre of the frame. Seal all sides by giving them a coat of paint before you start assembling.
All of the main pieces for the frame are cut, painted and ready to go. Because I've got enough room here on the deck, I'm actually going to assemble mine laying down, lift it up and then gently push it into place. I want to share a few tips with you though on how to assemble your frame the best way.
Start by drilling a clearance hole through the section that is to be attached. A clearance hole is just large enough for the screw to go through without stressing the timber. It's needed to stop the frame splitting as I'm drilling so close to the end and through a small block. Then in a timber that will be secured and receiving the screw, drill a pilot hole. This is a hole around 1/3 of the screw size and allows for easy screw insertion and reduces the risk of timber splitting. Now countersink to keep the screw head neatly flush with, or in this case below, the timber surface. And finally, insert your 100mm screws. Repeat this for all three uprights, top and bottom. Stand the frame up and slip into place. Mine is nice and snug, so needs some gentle percussive persuasion. If you do need to hammer your frame in, use a rubber mallet or a hammer hitting a timber offcut to avoid damaging the face of your timber.
You need to remember when you're fixing off a big screen like this that it needs to be really secure and stormproof, because it offers a fair bit of wind resistance. I'm going to be using 100mm construction screws up the side and then a few through the top and bottom as well.
Cut the 18mm support trim to the internal height of the frame. You'll need 4 strips per panel, so in my case I needed 8. Secure trim in place flush with the outside of the frame. Now measure top and bottom of your panel inside the frame to get your slat length. Hopefully they'll all be the same. Cut the required number of slats to size and stack within arm's reach just behind your work area. Cut 18mm trim to size for the spacer blocks. I cut mine to 25mm. Whether you cut by hand or saw, set up a jig to keep each block consistent, as it's vital they are all the same size. Put a pea-sized blob of adhesive into the corner of frame and trim on both sides and push a spacer block into each. Position a slat, press down firmly, and then fix off at 2 points on each side to the trim and frame. Now glue, block, slat, secure, and repeat until you're finished. Once all of your slats are in, place a cut section of trim in front of the slats pushed hard into the face and the frame, and then secure. Use a suitable filler to fill nail holes in any gaps. Lightly sand where it's needed. Wipe down with a damp cloth. If your timber's really dirty, use a sugar soap mix, and then you can get painting. I've found a 100mm wide 11mm nap roller works best. Then use a small brush for any tricky corners. This is one of the reasons I use 25mm spacers. It's easy to get a roller in the gap to paint the top and bottom of the slats. That's it, problem solved. An exposed spot with an ugly view and no privacy becomes a shady retreat.